A young man went to the train station to pick up his future sister-in-law on behalf of his older brother, but he looked down on her for being a country bumpkin. He mocked her for never having ridden in a car before and secretly planned to speed wildly to scare the little village girl. The woman calmly pointed her snake blade at the steering wheel, and the car shot forward as if enchanted, arriving at the governor's residence in an instant. The second young master stumbled out of the car and vomited repeatedly, while the woman remained completely unaffected. She immediately sensed the murderous aura surrounding the vehicle. Since he was her future brother-in-law, she kindly warned him not to drive that night and handed him the snake blade for protection. However, he dismissed her as a trickster and threw the blade away. The next second, the wall that had been grazed by the blade suddenly collapsed. Earlier that very day, she had used the snake blade to help capture a kidnapper who had abducted a child in broad daylight. She was the last snake blade wielder in the world. She offered the blade to the deputy officer in charge, but he dismissed her as a fraud and refused it. The kidnapper, however, was extremely arrogant and refused to reveal where the child was hidden. Seeing the woman's unwavering confidence, the deputy decided to take the blade and give it a try. The woman smiled faintly, formed a hand seal, and closed her eyes, activating her 1,000-mile tracking technique. Instantly, flashes of light erupted in all directions. Soon after, she toyed with the extra snake blade that had appeared in her left hand and set off for the Xie family at the governor's residence. 10 years earlier, the Xie family had been besieged by bandits. The old master refused to collude with them, even at the cost of his life. At the most critical moment, a snake blade master arrived with his young granddaughter. He declared that if the Xie family's eldest son married his granddaughter 10 years later, he would save the entire family. The eldest son immediately accepted the snake blade. The old snake blade master used his own lifespan to borrow fortune for the Xie family and break the siege, but before leaving, he warned them never to forget the 10-year promise or they would suffer heavenly punishment. The reason was that the eldest son carried a rare imperial destiny, and only by marrying him could the girl break her fate of dying before the age of 20. When she grew up, she finally understood that her grandfather had sacrificed his life not just to save the Xie family, but to save her. Now she arrived with the marriage contract to fulfill the agreement, yet her future mother-in-law refused to acknowledge it. She even took out 100,000 silver dollars and told the woman to leave, saying her son was now a powerful governor and she was unworthy of him. She even presented 4 other men for her to choose from. This humiliation completely enraged the woman. "No need," she said coldly. With a casual wave of her hand, the marriage contract from 10 years ago materialized in midair. It clearly stated that the Xie family had borrowed 10 years of heavenly fortune with the eldest son's marriage as collateral. She warned them that if they dared to deny the snakeblade debt, they should be prepared to face divine retribution. The matriarch flew into a rage, accusing her of spouting nonsense. When the woman refused the money and would not leave, the matriarch ordered servants to throw her out. The woman could not help but sigh. Back then, her grandfather had sacrificed his life to save the Xie family, yet they had ultimately proven unworthy. Just as she was about to leave, the matriarch, taking advantage of the eldest son and the old master being absent, tried to tear up the marriage contract to prevent any future claims. The woman immediately warned her that tearing it up would bring instant consequences. At that moment, the old master and the eldest son returned home. They had always regarded the Snakeblade Master as their great benefactor. Without his help years ago, the Xie family would have been wiped out, and there would be no governor's residence today. The old master ordered his son to honor the marriage agreement. In truth, the eldest son had fallen in love with the little girl at first sight back then, otherwise he would not have accepted the Snakeblade. For 10 years, he had longed for their reunion. But now that the appointed time had arrived, dark clouds loomed ominously over the governor's residence. Meanwhile, the matriarch, unaware of the impending heavenly punishment, had already ordered her men to surround the woman. Clutching the marriage contract, she prepared to tear it apart, determined to see whether any retribution would truly fall.